All right, so I'm going to walk you through moving files around here and getting things onto the server, and in particular this first assignment, which is the story. So what I'm hoping that you'll do is, first of all, is launch FileZilla. I'm in FileZilla here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect. Remember, there's 5 things that are important to remember about your server. So I'm going to walk you through each step here, and I'm going to go a little fast, so you can pause it if you need to. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to log in. So it's the host is itcdland.csumb.edu. My username is the username that was emailed to me, so that's my username. I've already entered my password in here. And then the port's 22. It usually will default to port 22 because it's SFTP. And actually it gives you a rollover here. You saw the message that says SFTP is port 22. I'm going to say quick connect. And it's going to show me, I'm going to drop in here, and I've already set myself up with the path to my CST251 folder, where this is all of your work, is where all your work is going to go. So what happens with FileZilla is that it shows you this folder structure here, and this is on your local side, remember, local hard drive. And this is my path to my folder. Now you can, if you don't see this right away, you can just, you can type it in on a Mac or on a PC, or you can go back to the root of the drive and just double click and keep clicking through. So for PC users, it's very much the same thing. You'll see your C drive, and then you'll see users, and so you'll double click on that, and this is my account that I'm on this machine, so I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to drill into my documents folder, and I believe I have already set up a CST251 folder here. Yep, so there it is. So now I'm in, and so the very important thing here is to match these on both sides. And it gets a little tricky because you need to practice this, and so I want you to do it as often as you can so you have it in your mind. But on the remote site, so I'm on the remote site, I'm on home and my user account there. And if I click on this, it's going to just show me that. So I'm going to drill into my CST251. Now remember, you need to put your work in the public HTML for you to be able to see it in a browser. So I've got other stuff in here, which is fine, but the most important thing is for me to drill into this public HTML. On top of that, I want you to create, I've got a whole bunch of other stuff in here. A lot of other people will have stuff from other classes. But the important thing here is to create a CST251 folder. Now remember, lowercase, no spaces, CST251. Those are the big mistakes that get made. So right now, if I click on CST251 there, CST251 there, I'm matching. I've got the same folder on both sides. Now, earlier we did the kitten project, and that was just dropped into your web root, which is the base kind of your website. But I told you earlier to make a folder called projects. I don't have a folder over here called projects, so I'm just going to right click, and I'm going to create a directory called projects. And now I've already done some work here, and if I double click on that, it has my hello file in there. So you're not going to do a hello file. You're going to do a story.html. I'm going to really quickly launch Text Wrangler. And here's my Text Wrangler. So this is a blank document in Text Wrangler. Now on Notepad++, you're going to do the same thing. But remember, we did the hello, and we just put it up there, and it was just a straight text file that said, although it was an HTML file, it had just the words hello, right? Well, what we want to do is we want to publish a real HTML file. So what I'm going to do here is I've got iLearn, and I've got the steal this code here at the top of our class. And I'm going to just highlight this code, and I'm going to copy it. And again, this works both on a Mac and a PC, so I'm going to minimize that. And I'm going to come into my Text Wrangler, and I'm going to paste that code. So here's my starting point. And you notice the nice thing about Text Wrangler is that it gives me kind of syntax highlights. It knows what a tag is. It knows what an attribute is, and this is something that you'll learn here in the near future, but an attribute is just something that describes or kind of helps identify that tag a little bit more than just the tag, right? So it's giving it some more information here. And then I've got some style here. We're not into style yet, so I'm just going to delete this style. It's not going to hurt anything to leave it, but there's no need for it. We don't need it. Same thing with this link to a style sheet. We're not doing style sheets yet. We'll talk about that later. And then the rest of this we can save. And so I'm going to put that here, and I'm going to put a title in here and say funny story. Now I've talked about spaces and illegal characters. Once you're into the content of a page, you can put spaces, it's fine, and those will translate to spaces in the browser, but you really want anywhere else to not have spaces. Now anything outside of the code, if I put a space in there, it's not going to hurt anything. It doesn't show up. It doesn't hurt your code, but it won't show up. It's essentially useless. It's just a space. So it might help you in your formatting and kind of identifying things, but that's just it. Okay, so I've got my page here. Just to get started, I'm going to save this. This isn't the final version of our document, but I'm going to save it, and I'm going to save it into my CST251 projects. Let's see here. I only know who knows what I'm exposing here on my hard drive. There's all kinds of stuff, so I'm not seeing it right off. Where is it? Let's see. So I'm going to go to my documents. Oh, there it is. Boom. So I'm going to double click on that. I'm going to double click on my projects folder, and I'm going to call this story.html. Again, no hide extension or anything like that. I know it's actually called story.html, and I'm going to save it. Boom. Okay, so I have this now on my in my hard drive, and if I come back now to my FileZilla, I can double click on my projects. Actually, before I go any further here, I'm always going to be working in my projects folder and my projects folder. So these are the two things that I want to match. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make a bookmark, and I'm going to call this CST251 web root. Not Groot, that's somebody else. And so notice it remembers my two paths to my two folders. And we can use synchronized browsing. We can explain more about that later, but right now I'm just going to say go. It says site-specific bookmark. It says I need to create a site. Add current connection to the site manager, yes. So now I've actually have this in my site manager as well. So if I come up here to site manager and to file, it's CST251. You can see I've made it in the past here as well, but here's my web root, the one I just made. So we can delete this actually, but not going to worry about it. That's what we're worried about right now. So I'm going to say we're already connected, so I'm not going to connect. I'm going to hit cancel. So good news, I got a bookmark, and it takes me exactly to the place I need to go. But you notice these two don't match. The hello up there is okay, is fine. I can leave it there, but I'm going to right-click on this. Oops, I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to right-click on it and upload it. Tells me everything's cool. It uploaded it, put it into the hello folder, into the projects folder, right? CST251 projects. Okay, next step, we're going to check it in the browser. And so this is really the next step here that will help you get your links correct. So remember there were 5 things, right? There's host name, which is what we've typed in the SFTP browser. There is username, there's the password, there's the protocol or the port, and then there's the domain. In this case, the domain's the same, but I don't want you to always assume that. So there's the domain. A lot of you, I noticed in class, were doing this, and notice it redirects and it takes you to this FAQ. Forget this. You don't need to worry about this. You can just skip right over it. So I'm going to start over, and I'm going to back this up. And so notice I go tilde. We talked about international keyboards and making sure we have the right tilde. So you'll have to sort that out. But that's the official name for the key. But on US domestic keyboards, it's the upper left-hand corner below the escape key. Okay, so that gets me into my web root. So if I click on that, it's going to show me my directory listing. Normally you won't see this on a production server, but for us, it's great. It's great help. So now I'm going to type CST251, and so I'm going to go inside that folder. I'm going to go inside my projects folder, and what was the name of it? Story.html. Now remember, all lower, no spaces. Same thing goes with your folders and your file names. That's where it matters. So that's where Internet Naming Protocol is the most important. Hit enter, boom, content of the document. Come back here, go to my text wrangler, let's see here, go to my story HTML, content of the document. Okay, so you're going to do a few more things. You're going to put in a few tags. We're going to put in an H1 tag, which means it's a heading. And I'm going to say, funny thing happened on the way to the Coliseum. I couldn't spell Coliseum to save my life. There we go. And then I'm going to close the H1 tag. And so what I've done is I've made some text here that is a heading, and it's the most important thing on the page. So next step, H2, and I tend to make my tags first and open them and close them all in the same shot, just because I always tend to forget the closing tag. So I'm gonna say background, and then I'm gonna say, okay, well then I've got some content down below here, and this is some background. And what I can do is now is just copy paste as your friend here. I'm gonna just copy and paste here. So this will be the story. And you're starting to see why I had you break this into 3 sections. Okay, so now I've done the assignment. So this is where you're going to copy and paste your story from the browser, right, from the forum. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to save it. I've already saved it as story HTML, and so now I can hop over to FileZilla. Now this has been updated, and actually if I take this and say it was 10:03:23, it's 10:09, if I right click on this and refresh, you'll see this update to 10:08. So I just know that I just updated this, and so now I can upload it. You don't have to update it every time. It will be, it'll automatically grab the file. There's no surprise there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload this, and it's telling me, hey, there's already a file there. You sure you want to overwrite this? And I'm going to say overwrite if source is newer. And then I'm going to say always do this action and send it. Boom. Okay, so up it went. It's been updated here. I'm betting that if I took this and refresh this, you'll see it update from, whoops, you're going to see it update. Right to 10:18, great. And notice this is the time that I uploaded. Okay, so now I can go back to my browser, boom, and refresh, and I'm gonna hold the Option key down and refresh and force it. Let's see, got a little bit of a problem here. Let's figure out what happened. Okay, so I'm gonna upload that, up it goes. Come back here, I'm gonna hold the Option key down. So what happens is there is, funny thing. Well, let's have a look. So I'm going to go save as and just see if I can overwrite that other. There it is in the projects folder. Save it. Say yes, replace it. Everything's cool there. Go to FileZilla, right click, upload. Everything's cool. File scan transfer skipped because it was already there. Having a little problem, so I'm actually going to delete it on the server, and I'm going to push it again. So upload. There it is. So I cleared that out. I hit refresh here, and finally it goes. So sometimes what happens is the browser will cache the old file, and it'll have the old version of the file on the browser. So it's a way of speeding up the browser. But what you have to do sometimes is actually go into the preferences, clear your cache. On the Mac, I hold the Alt key down and click refresh, and it flushes the cache generally. So it depends on the browser, but you're going to have to play around with it a little bit. So there we go. My assignment's done, and I've just finished. I've just got my first 10 points for CST 251. Hope this is helpful, and we will see you in class. I'll see you in class on Monday next week.